Hi, everyone. This is Kathleen Fitzgerald and Alana Kyle with Dismantling Morgellons. This is episode 10. So, episode 9, we were just relating a little bit about the hats and the energy clearing protocol and then the symptoms of Morgellons. We would like you, Alana, to just go ahead and let's just start back where we left off, if you don't mind.
Okay, that sounds great. Um, well, we talked about some symptoms of Morgellons, and if you guys haven't watched the previous episodes, we've got a lot. But I think you should all see the whole entire series. But I wanted people to know about these symptoms just so that they could perhaps understand what kind of symptoms they were facing and how it relates, because a lot of people have Morgellons and they don't know it. And they end up taking a lot of wrong turns and wasting time because we need to clear this stuff out of our system. And a lot of times it shows up as skin issues, very severe skin issues at times. And that's alarming, especially if it's on your face or anywhere on your body that can be seen, because people will think you're a meth addict, or they'll think, you have monkeypox. They will think you have, whatever, something contagious. And it destroys your sense of self-esteem on the surface. But what's more important is what's going on inside the body. And because this stuff is everywhere inside your body, it's not just in your joints, or it's not just on your skin. And it's especially, there's two areas that it will like to be in, especially because of the magnetic and electrical properties. And that is the heart, your chest, your heart, and your head. And a lot of times also in the reproductive area. So I found it coming out of all those places, but especially those places where there's electrical energy. This is magnetic. These particles we're talking about, the nanoparticles, the quantum dots, and the graphene. The quantum dots are metals, and the graphene is it's called a semi-metal, and they do have magnetic properties. Have you seen the videos where people are like putting like a piece of metal on their arm or a fork or something?
Yeah, was that real? That was all true?
Oh yeah, that's real. And you know what?
I was so skeptical about it. I didn't know.
No, it's real. And people are even doing that who didn't get vaxxed, who have Morgellons, and they can also do it because there's all this magnetic stuff going on. Go ahead.
Are you saying that people are going to get sores on their chest and their heads, like more so than other areas?
Most likely, yes. I found so much of it coming out of both those places. The head is particularly hard because when you have hair, like, what are you going to do about your hair? You can't do treatment. So maybe we could talk about some treatments for the hair, because the head.
Are you through the symptoms?
Yeah, we're through
the symptoms yet. Okay.
This is just a few more. There's so many symptoms, but I was just talking about the big ones.
Okay.
Because just so people can recognize that they do have Morgellons, even if they don't think they do. Because a lot of people think that if you just have fibers, then you have Morgellons. Well, no. Sometimes you don't even see the fibers. They're there, but they're so small, right? Or they look like other things. Like, for example, it kind of looks like tissue paper. Sometimes the fibers are often white. So they just kind of blend into the environment and you don't think it's anything, but it's actually this stuff. And so a lot of it's white, believe it or not. Yeah, but we're used to seeing the colored ones because they stand out more. But they're like, oh, why do I have red fibers? Like, I'm not even wearing red fabric. I don't even have anything red in my environment. Why am I getting red fibers, right? So those kind of stand out more, the colorful ones, but the white ones are actually they're more prolific everywhere. So and they're very, very painful. But anyway, I wanted to show a little bit more about some of the things that can happen when you have Morgellons. You've got these coming out of you, and they're like, this is sort of a combination of the fibers and the hydrogel mixed together. And this actually looks like a butterfly. This is blown up 200 times. And so they can kind of be bunched together a lot.
That's
Um,
two, right? It's
no, it
like
is,
two.
no, it's just one big
Oh,
mass.
one big piece. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I could sit there and do, a session of getting these things out of my skin, and it, take like an hour or two, and I get like hundreds of these out. And so, we gotta work on getting them out. That's what some of the treatments are for. But I was going to also talk about the internal treatments, because what we want to do is kick it out internally, out of the intestines especially, and out of the blood. And so we were talking about energy clearing protocol, because that actually really does kind of help you get it all out of your system. And then there's what we take now is borax, 20 mule team borax. This is a mineral, 100% pure mineral, non-toxic. It's not a detergent. People think it's a detergent because it's a detergent booster, but it's not detergent. It's actually a mineral mined from the earth that is very safe. And what you do is you take it internally. I mean, this is what I do. I take it internally. I'm not talking about medical advice here. And that will disable and disrupt the hydrogel platform that is everywhere in your body. And then it'll start coming out. And it will leak out. It's weird because it can come out in different ways. So when the borax, when the body's releasing this hydrogel, it comes out in so many different forms. But you mentioned one, which was when you threw it up, and it was like this glob, this sort of gelatinous mass. So it can come out like that. If you could throw it up, actually, Candy Nelson has a good story about it. She threw up a mass of it like this big. It was as big as a baseball, and it almost choked her to death. She was, vomiting it up, but it was like stuck. It was scary. She couldn't breathe. I mean, it was bad. So
Yeah,
she
that
she
would
got
be
it.
scary.
The stuff is nasty. And then you could also have diarrhea, and it can come out that way. Definitely that's a biggie for me. That's the way it comes out for me mostly. And then it also can leak out of your skin like a liquid, like watery, fluidy, kind of like sweat. It can come pouring out of your body at once. And some people are, it's funny because a lot of people who are vaxxed, they have all of these symptoms, and it relates to this so like succinctly. Okay. In fact, the day that my husband got his first vax, I've cleared him for it with all the ingredients list. I cleared him for the hydrogel. I cleared him for, the 5G. I mean, the whole bit. That night, the hydrogel seeped out of his whole body, head to toe. It came out onto the bed. I touched him in the middle of the night. He was wet, just wet, like he'd been in a river. And the whole bed was wet, and the sheets were wet. And I was like, okay, good. It worked. He got some of it out, and it was really, I was so excited. I was so happy. But you'll hear people say, oh, I sweat the bed, and like, oh, well, that's hydrogel coming out of you. It's not sweat. And then
Sweat every night almost.
you've had that every night.
I sweat almost every night.
Well, I guess it's
That's the way
working
my
for
body
you.
gets rid of stuff.
That's how it's getting rid of it. That's
I'm
great.
okay with it. I mean, sometimes it's not menopause for me. It's
No, no,
just
no,
how
no.
my body purifies, I think, at night.
Well, when I had COVID, one night I got up and in the middle of the night, and I had a river coming out underneath my boobs. Like there was all this hydrogel just flowing out. It just kept pouring out and pouring out. And I was like, oh my God. And so this is a good sign. When things start coming out, you feel better, your body works better, you're not going to get sick anymore. It's just amazing, so I really think this is one of the keys. And then there's a new protocol that I just came up with that I really want to share, and that is ginger juice. And ginger is a really powerful antifungal, and it has all these properties that are so powerful. It's really going to be like my favorite protocol, or one of my favorite protocols. So it's ginger juice with lemon, fresh lemon. I just juice it in a juicer. I just do it in a batch, and then I just drink it throughout the week. So it's really easy. You just juice it once, like a whole bunch of it with the skin on. That you don't peel the ginger because you want the skin part as well. And then but I take the skin off the lemon, and then I add alfalfa tincture into the mix. As I'm drinking it every morning, I put some tincture into my juice, and I do like 20 drops a day. So that is my protocol, and I do that every day, and it is so powerful. I could see it coming, the stuff coming out of my butt, coming out of my bowels the day after I started doing this. So it was like instantly powerful. I especially think alfalfa is a binder for the quantum dots, and it really does disrupt the hydrogel platform as well.
I dug that out in some research, way back in the day for chemtrails. And
oh yeah,
I found this, excuse me, information about borax. And of course, boron is the name that if you didn't want to go right straight from the borax, you could get boron in a pill, that
it's not the same, but it's similar. Yeah.
Yeah. But I did find some old protocols way back in the very beginning that they got suppressed.
Right.
And, so that's how I found it.
Well, I didn't really understand that it was binding with the metals until it actually did. And I don't think that people say that in anywhere. Like, for example, it's like you go to try to find alfalfa information, but they just put the basic stuff like, oh, it's got this in it, it's got that in it. It's a diuretic, it helps treat arthritis, but they don't really explain what it does.
When
so
I made that paste,
I know just
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but when I made that paste and put it on that sore and left it overnight, it did bind to the stuff, and I was able to peel that off. That's what I did with it. It was amazing.
I actually saw millions of quantum dots come out of my face using the alfalfa, and I was like, that is amazing. My sore cleared up 3 times faster because of it. So I really think it's going to be important internally, so that's why I want to do all this. Also, all of these things are antifungal, and they're all anti-inflammatory, because what happens in your body is it gets extremely inflamed. This stuff should not be in your body. It's very toxic.
Could you sprout alfalfa sprouts or the alfalfa seeds and put them in your juicer or your blender, and just, whatever too? Okay. So,
yeah, true. Whatever way you want to get it, but I like it because the tincture, it's more, what do you call that? There's more of it.
Yeah.
For every drop, you've got a lot. Yeah, it's concentrated. Yeah. And then, they're all antioxidant as well, which is also a key to this. So antioxidant, and also, anti-inflammatory, so it's going to help with the pain, and it's also cancer killing. So we're talking, this is the bomb, you guys. This is what you need. You need to do these things that actually work. People are into buying all these expensive, things, and it's like, no, just get the things that your ancestors used. You used baking soda, you used onions, you used garlic, you used all these things that were readily available, right? You don't have to go finding some special expensive product. People want these expensive things, and I can't afford it. It's like, no way. You know what I mean?
Well, I found, with the alfalfa too, I feed it to my chickens, and so I can get a compressed bale for like $20. And then, a person could literally get that. It wouldn't be food grade, but you could separate the stems from the leaves. And that what I was researching was a bath with the alfalfa for people that have, it draws out the chemtrails, the nanotechnology, but it's very soothing for the skin. So if you have sores all over you, if I had sores all over me from Morgellons, I'd be going down the feed store, getting some alfalfa and making get the, just do it, just process it and get the leaves and make the powder and throw it in your tub and,
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
You have enough for your
So
neighbors.
I wanted to say, okay, so there's also this stuff called black goo. I don't know if anybody's ever seen black goo before. And sort of changing the subject a little bit, but this is a main thing that people see when they have Morgellons is these little black specks. And it's everywhere. These black specks, they're just coming out all over your skin when you have Morgellons. And part of it, I think, is pure graphene, because graphene turns black when it's got more layers to it. But I mean, graphene could be different colors. It doesn't have to be black. So I just want to note that it starts off white, and then as it gets layered, and if there's other things inside of it, it becomes colored. Or I've even seen purple graphene, and then there's black, especially. But so there's a lot of that, but there's also black goo, which I want to say Harold Kautz was amazing explaining black goo and where it comes from, and the fact that this is definitely one of the main factors of Morgellons. It is this horrible stuff, black goo. And this came out of my body. This one's another version of it. This is the liquid. So it can be liquid, or it could be a rock. It could be like rocks like this. This was a huge rock that was in my foot. And or it could be little tiny black specks that you can barely see. They sort of look like pepper. But
I know
those
it's almost like it's a sliver and you got to get it out,
well,
from my
it's so
experience, this kind of
uncomfortable.
stuff.
It's so irritating and so uncomfortable that you have to do something about it. You can't just ignore it. And it can create like just this feeling of anxiety and irritation in, when you've got a nest that has black goo. And I mean, most of my nests that I've gotten out of my skin have lots of that in it, especially around the forehead, in the eyes especially, and then the nose. So stuff is
Yeah,
so bad.
about the black goo and people that have that is that it's a sign of some sort of royalty in a way. And if you have the black goo, then I think you're
How
kind
did
of
you, where did you hear about that part of it? Was that through Harold Kautz? Might have been Harold.
no, it just came to me one day.
Oh,
And how do you validate it? But I just think that people that have that um this phenomenon are different in a way. I don't know. Special.
well,
That's what
I've seen some pretty horrific things involved with black goo, like where it would like bubble under the skin and you could see somebody's skin wave like this. Have you seen that? Where it's like
I have, but yeah,
wavy. And
yeah,
then,
like it's moving. It's almost
yeah,
like scabies, but
well,
it's not.
you can see this, the muscle moving and underneath. So it's like moving around. Ooh, I know I've
Oh, the
seen that.
stuff's moving around underneath the skin.
Yeah,
Mm.
I know.
Sci-fi.
I feel like, yeah, this is getting into the real fringy part of it, but
It's
like,
okay.
but I
But
mean, like,
this is a high tech. It's not a disease, she says. This is a high tech infestation poisoning. I call it a high tech disease, but it's not a disease. But because Alana says it's a poisoning, which she revealed the last episode. So I know that they're spraying it in the air. They're putting
yes,
it in medications. They're putting it in water. It's in pretty much everything. Those medications that have the blue coverings, that's got nano. I mean, there's just all this stuff. We even
yeah.
had they even admitted it. So it's getting into our bodies. Everybody, I think, is infected. Correct? Everyone,
Well,
unless you're living in a bubble.
Harold Kautz said it was airborne, and he said that 99% of the world was infected.
And he also said that 30% of the people are still like okay.
Well, you can get
That was a
by,
couple years ago.
like, with symptoms, and you just kind of make do with what your situation is. I mean, you you try to live the best you can, but then eventually it catches up to you because like, something major will happen. You'll be in an accident, or you'll have some kind of surgery, or you'll have some kind of stressful event, like really horrific trauma. And then all shit hits the fan. And then all of a sudden you've got massive Morgellons symptoms because, those things kind of make it worse. So it's like you can't ignore it.
I have to share this. So on my arm here, I
Mhm.
had a little so you can't even see the scar. So this should give you some hope. But right here, there's 4. You can't even see them now. But it was like a mole. And one day it just that mole scraped right off.
Wow.
And then it got a little itchy and I was working on it, and you were guiding me, but it turned out to be 4 exact holes, like 4 from that little mole. It turned into 4 major sores. And so that's what people are going to find, that you'll find a little speck and then it'll turn into something huge, like she's saying. And don't get
And it
scared.
happens fast. It happens really fast. All of a sudden you've got a rash all over the place. And it's like, go to the doctor. What is this, doctor? Oh, they're like, I don't know. They give you steroid creams or whatever. It's just, oh, it just makes me so sad
Yeah, they
because
don't know how to treat this. And so I think what we're saying here, folks, is that of course, they're not medical advice, but perhaps maybe my headache is, this or that, or maybe those sores it's not cancer. Maybe, this stuff, maybe my gut ache, it's not, diverticulitis or something, So just want everybody to keep an open mind with your symptoms and
yeah,
try maybe some of the stuff that we're trying here, and you may start to feel better, and that will give you the clue that
yeah,
it's not to be
they,
treated more chemicals or
yeah,
radiation or
exactly.
drugs. That's not going to do you any
Well,
good.
I mean, we're coming up with programs, so it's kind of easy for people to kind of check off these programs, like, so that, okay, this is how you deal with this. First of all, you have to get a hat. Then you have to do the energy clearing protocol. Then you do the baths. Then you do borax internally. Then you make sure there's no EMFs in your bedroom. Like you take it out the alarm clocks and you take out the equipment and you take out all that. Like people have like routers next to their head. It's ridiculous. Or they have Wi-Fi in there because they have got TVs in their room and all of that stuff. To get rid of all the equipment in your room so that you can sleep peacefully, because sleep is really critical to healing. This is not going to be a quick fix. We can't just eliminate hydrogel overnight, but we could do a lot within a few weeks. We could do much more in 6 months. So it's going to be a process, but start doing the ginger shots, start doing the alfalfa. Like, I mean, and I have a huge list, but we're going through it step by step. And then, it's easy for you to follow along and it's not expensive.
Yeah, that's the good part about it. Everything that I'm doing is really cheap because I'm cheap. I'm just really
I
cheap.
know, me
I don't
too.
like to spend money. I mean, I save, but I don't like to spend money on anything. And so borax is like $5 or $6 for a big giant box. And
Yeah, and cinnamon powder. I
this is
mean, the bath.
probably, the biggest investment
Mhm.
here,
Yeah.
but it's so worth it.
Oh yeah.
Um,
And it lasts, I mean, you're going to use it every day for years. Yeah. So it's really, it's just following along. And then, I've worked with a lot of people, in these groups and stuff. And they've given me feedback and they've said that they've really been able to do a lot with these programs. They've been able to heal from things like eczema and healing, you know, um, the
reversing.
fatigue. Oh yeah, reversing the fatigue, reversing the brain fog, starting to feel like more like themselves, being able to deal with the sores and get rid of the sores. And I mean, like getting your face back, that's a miracle. I mean,
It is a
oh
miracle because people are telling me they've had these lesions that for 7 years or more that don't ever heal. And
Yeah, it's
I'm
hard.
just,
And then, or they'll have like maybe some protrusions because it can create like it can change, morph the shape of your face. So you don't even feel like yourself anymore. You've got like weird eyes and weird, no hair on your face, on your eyebrows. And then you've got like some weird bump on your nose. It makes you look horrible. I'm telling you, this Morgellons is so bad for self-esteem, having no hair or whatever, and I've been through it all, you guys. I mean, you think I look good now? It took some time, but I did all of these programs, and that's why I look like this. I did not look like this.
you
I look
discovered how you did it, you figured it out, and that's the thing about the clearing too, is that back in the day, they would take vials and they would muscle test you and all this stuff. And this is kind of a fast forwarded, evolved system where I learned very quickly. I didn't even have to have the vials. I didn't even
exactly.
have to tap my back. I mean, it's just, I can literally just clear myself for anything and it goes away immediately almost like that.
Exactly. It's that fast. Yeah, definitely. I cleared, one of the first clearings I did was for Morgellons. I mean, I was going through the program because we have like 13 files, but I was like halfway through, I was like, well, I'm just going to clear for Morgellons because I didn't really think, I wasn't sure if it worked. Like I was
Yeah, I
kind of like,
know. It's like,
let me
well,
test this, let me see, is this really working? Because I really wanted to, like prove it, and I cleared for Morgellons, and then immediately my stomach started doing that twirly thing, and like you could hear like rocks, and it's like all this stuff was happening. And then I went to bed, and all night long I just felt these things swirling around my body. I mean, like at record speed. It was like this tornado inside my body. And then the first thing when I woke up the next morning, I had to rush to the bathroom because a huge amount of hydrogel, I didn't know at the time, but it looked like tar, came out of my body at record speed, like lightning. And I was like,
wow.
I guess it worked. I was like, I guess it worked.
Okay, well, I'm going to say a quick story to back that up. Now, I was at a booth doing stuff for chemtrails, and I had this kid who's about 20 years old show up, which turned out to be his mom. Well, later I found out he's autistic, and her and I and him, he's just standing there listening. He's not talking, and we're talking, and all of a sudden I said, yeah, and I'm talking about chemtrails. Then I get into the nanotechnology, and I say nanobots. And then this guy, this is like in his 20s, he goes, how do you get rid of those nanobots? And I said, well, I can clear you. And he thought for a minute and he goes, okay. And his mom just got this crazy look on her face, like, what the heck is going on? So I'm clueless. So I take him around, I sit him in a chair behind the booth, and I do a little clearing, and I clear him for vet. Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
action, damage, and his divine blueprint. I always love to.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah.
Anyway, he sat there for a couple minutes. He turned gray, and he just projectile vomited this serious big mass of
Right,
gooey
instantly.
gray
Yes.
crap.
Yes.
Now, what happened was because of the gene deletion technology called CRISPR technology, they've taken out genes, information out of his DNA. And the quantum healing then through the frequencies came into his body and gave him all this information. And like Candy says, historic, get out of here, all this stuff. His body immediately went, whoa, red alert. We've got all this crap in here we didn't know was in here. But now the body knows. And so then
Exactly.
the body's so
So
smart now,
intelligent.
and
So
it just
intelligent.
kicked all that stuff out.
Mhm.
So then I'm just like, it's okay. They came, they were going to clean it up there because it was at the convention center in Portland. And we
God.
moved around. And
Oh.
then she told me the story. He never wants to do anything, he never wants to go anywhere. He looked from a mile driving and says, I want to go there. She pulls in, she pays, he beelines straight to me. It goes through all these people, boom,
That's
he's right there.
amazing. Whoa.
And then within about 10 minutes, we're standing there. He got clear-eyed. He stood up straight, and I said, God is great. And they left. I haven't seen him since. But that's the power of it. So I had to just.
Oh yeah, well, I've got another story. It was about my mom. She was in the hospital and she thought she was dying because she had this AFib problem, and her heart was racing, racing, racing. It's almost like running a marathon, but without running, and it never stops. And you just get exhausted.
I had that.
And then there were other things, just blood pressure problems and all this stuff. And so I was sitting by her bed, and I was going, what do I clear her for? I tried to clear for the heart, but that didn't actually do it. So then I thought about it. What the problem is that this potassium imbalance, that's what I figured out. Like instantly it came to me, potassium imbalance. Okay, so I cleared her for potassium. And I was on the phone with my sister going, you might have to come from Germany because she looks like she's going to die. That's what I said. But then the next minute I cleared her. Within 40 minutes, not even 40 minutes, I think it was 30 minutes, she had all her vitals back to normal. And they said, you can go home.
So that's the thing, is that there's been times when I clear and it's not working. And then I get it and I go, oh, it's that.
Right. You have to clear
for
the right thing.
For salt
exactly.
or whatever. And then boom.
Right. You have to know what you're clearing for. And so, although it's good to do like a basis, that's what the 13 files are, because you've got all of these different, you go through all the food, you go through all the allergies, you go through all the body systems, the organs. Like all of the different things. These files are amazing. There's even one that
12 is my favorite. The mind
there's
control.
One that has the and then there's one that has Vax ingredients. Like all the different things that you could possibly, but you have to add your own as well. So but then so you do all the basics, but then you get to decide what you're going to clear for every day. And I'll clear for things like money. I'll clear for things like I'm having a hard time with a project, or I'm having an issue, an emotional thing going on or whatever. So I'll clear for whatever's happening. And it's just so relieving for me to do that.
We'll get the lady on here herself.
Candy.
Soon. As we're plowing through a lot of this information, we'll get her on and we'll get some other people on.
She's awesome. I recommend her work highly. You can find her at Morgellons and Open Forum, or the Quantum Energy Clearing Protocol on Facebook. These are both Facebook groups. Or you can try contacting her in Messenger. She's just so helpful and wonderful with the information. She's taught me so much.
That's Candy Griffin Vandewalker. You can find her.
Yeah.
That's Candy with a K. And but if you get a hold of us too, we'll always help you connect.
Definitely. Yeah. So, the black goo thing.
Yeah, we got 6 minutes.
I want to say Harold Kautz, you got to go check out Harold Kautz's videos, because he explains black goo better than anybody. And
yeah, I'll say his name. It's HARALD, Harold with an A. Kautz, KAUTZ. And then he doesn't go by Vella, but you might have to put in Vella, VELLA. Harold Kautz Vella. So he prefers to go by Harold Kautz now. So.
Yeah, so he explains that this black goo, and this is so interesting, it actually originated as a meteor that hit the earth like 80,000 years ago. And there was this big cache of this meteor in Paraguay that got sort of sequestered by the Nazis. And they harnessed it, and they figured out that it carries a sentient conscious being. And it's
that's why they have that black cube and the Muslims walk
everything's around. Black. Yeah, well, no, yeah, the rocks. Okay, yeah, there's a whole thing we can do on this. There's a whole show we can do on this. But basically, there's some kind of sentient consciousness of this black goo, and yes, they put it in churches. They put it in the Muslim the Kabbalah thing. What is that place there where they go worship it and they walk around in a circle and they kiss it and all that? That's a rock that they're kissing.
Remember
Okay.
those weird black things when we came to visit you at the Golden Gate Park that
Oh
were
yes.
that
Oh,
was part of
I
that
think I still have a
weirdness?
picture of that. We could totally go into this. No, listen. I've been studying goddesses because I know this is part of it. That the blackness is also in the black Mary, the cult of Mary, the cult of Mary, but the black Madonna. So I've been studying this and it's fascinating, but basically I think this is also part of it. That they made that the pagan goddesses, there was one that they say came from a meteor that came down as a star onto the earth. And then so they worshiped her, and her symbol is a star. Okay, so you see stars all over the satanic, whatever, stars and hexagons, like, what do you call it? Pentagrams, star, so there's all these connections, to the black goo. And I mean, especially the one about Mecca, where everyone's going in a circle and worshiping this thing, and they have to,
That's right. That's what it's called.
yeah, and that there's some kind of energy but this is the stuff that's coming out of my body. And it's
Probably other
gross.
people's too.
Oh yeah,
You
so
know,
many. I mean, almost everybody with Morgellons talks about this black specks, and they're everywhere. They come out in your poop, and they come out out of your mouth. They're just everywhere.
so the key is to reduce the Wi-Fi, which is this is what's doing it. It's blocking the Wi-Fi from frequencies from getting to my brain. And so I think if somebody's listening to this and they're really very, very sick, we're giving you some fundamentals on what to do
Yeah.
for yourself. And we highly recommend that you take this seriously, because from my understanding is that this stuff, it's a kind of a race in a way. It's growing, it's programmed to grow and collect and create circuits. That's what it's designed.
You gotta disrupt it, because it is taking over your body. It's taking you over on every level, not just physically, emotionally and spiritually as well. And that's the scary.
I wish we had more time. We only had 2 more minutes.
And it goes by so fast.
I wrap it up, but go ahead.
I also know there's a lot of connections to scientific literature, scientific stuff, lots of documents that were leaked. I mean, Harold Katz talks about a NASA document that was leaked that talks about this stuff. So there's definitely, links to things. It's not like we're making this up out of our own mind.
No, we're not, because I just was reading that there's documentation in the Moderna and Pfizer documents with the ingredients, and they talk about this stuff that's in these the medical.
Well, you know what, they do call it a secret ingredient, though. I mean, as far as hydrogel is concerned, because the only thing that they'll label on their form is that it's PEG, but it's not. PEG is just a basic ingredient. It's not the thing. The thing is the quantum dots, and that's what's creating the nano devices. That's what's creating the circuitry that they can then tap into wirelessly.
Yeah, and it's all in my mind. Oops, I guess we have one last minute.
Oh my God.
I'm not going to finish. We'll have to just
keep going.
Episode 11.
I have so many more pictures to show, but yeah, we'll do next time.
We'll see you guys. Episode 11. Stay tuned. Bye-bye now, everybody.
Take care.